Hello again and welcome back to our course on PSE 15. In this section we're going to look at drawing, and the first thing we're going to do is to look at the use of the pencil tool. The pencil tool is in the bottom right hand corner of the draw group, and as with a brush, normally the first thing that you do is to set the size of the pencil, which will often be significantly less than the size of a brush would be. The last time I used a pencil in this installation of PSE 15, the size was just 1 pixel. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than that. And then I can just draw a freehand line on the paper. Of course, the colour of the line will be the colour of the foreground. So if I want to change that, let's once again choose a dark blue colour. Again, a freehand line. One important point to note here is that when you're looking at these pencil lines on your computer monitor, they may appear to be broken. They're not actually broken lines, well, not at the moment anyway, and it really is because with such a thin line drawn on a computer monitor, and particularly on computer monitors which don't have particularly high resolution, you will find that the line appears to break up. It doesn't mean that it's actually a broken line, it's just that the computer cannot represent it as a continuous line. For that reason, when I'm drawing things during the course, if I do need to draw lines, I will tend to draw them to be quite thick lines so that they don't break up too badly. But just be aware of that, what you might loosely call optical illusion. If you want to draw a straight horizontal line, hold the Shift key down, click and draw the line, and it will be a straight horizontal line. If you click somewhere on the paper, then put the Shift key down, then click somewhere else on the paper, you'll get a straight line between those 2 points. That is one way of drawing lines. Another way of drawing them is to draw them as shapes. So for example, if I select the shape tool again, one of the options there is line. I'm going to make this quite a thick line, say 40 pixels. I'm going to choose a different color, not the default foreground color at the moment. What about that nice rich red colour there? I can choose whether to have an arrowhead, which I'm going to at this stage, at the end. So having made those selections, let me draw my line, nice thick red line. And with the line shape selected, I might rename this layer to be arrow. What I can then do with that layer selected is apply a style. So for instance, I could apply that high drop shadow to the line. And bear in mind, of course, that this layer could be incorporated into an existing image, pointing out one of the features in the image and perhaps with a bit of text in the canvas explaining that feature. One significant difference you may have noticed there was that when I drew the line with the pencil, I didn't automatically get a new layer added. I could have added a layer, of course, and I could have drawn with the pencil on that, but I didn't automatically get a new layer. However, when I added the line as a shape, I automatically got a new layer, which happens by default, of course, when you add a shape in PSE. Let me then add one more custom shape here. I'm going to click on shape. I'm going to choose animals, and I'm going to choose a cat, and I'm going to draw a cat here, and once again I will get a new layer. The cat is obviously drawn in the foreground colour, and of course because the cat is in the top layer, the arrow is behind the cat. If I click on arrow, I can slide that above the cat, and then of course the arrow shows in front of the cat. Before we finish this section on drawing, I'd like to point out a couple of things. One of them is that when you draw a shape, let me draw another one here. Let's have another cat. When you draw a shape, you have a choice, obviously, of the foreground color, defaults to the current foreground color. You can also choose whether to apply styles at that point, although of course styles could be applied later. But you have choices such as, is this an unconstrained drawing? I just drew that first cat freehand, but supposing I wanted it in defined proportions. I can also elect to draw the shape from the center, And I also have an option here, simplify, which is actually very important. When you draw shapes in PSE, it doesn't draw them as digital images. It doesn't make them up of little pixels, what are called raster graphics. It does them using what are called vector graphics. And one of the advantages of vector graphics when you're drawing shapes is it's very easy for PSE to change shapes, to change the proportions of shapes and so on. But depending on what you need to do with the shape, including combining it with other layers in a drawing, you may need to change the shape from being a vector shape to being a raster shape. That's a process that's called simplification. And if at any stage you needed to simplify one of these shapes, you click on the Simplify button, and as the tooltip says there, it rasterizes the shape layer into editable pixels. And then all the things you normally do with pixels, you'll be able to do with that layer. So let me just draw my second cat. I'm going to draw this one from the center. Note that it's the same color. I'm going to change that color now. And you'll also note that it's got the drop shadow that I applied, etc. So as you can see, I'm building up now an image using a succession of shape layers. That's the end of this section. I'll see you in the next one.